President of Europe, Dan Holzmann.
I'm so excited to be here. I just don't understand. I don't know who the hell decided I need to be after Alex and John Holivati. I mean, it's like I think I should just sit down here and, just wait for 15 minutes and then leave again. What kind? I mean, so many emotions and, where's John? I've seen you here, John. You left? John was like, look at Alex over there. I mean, Alex is just a guy that I believe that most of us would not be here without him. I mean, how many people of you called Alex at the right moment and he said the right word? Can I see that? I mean, just at the right moment. It's not you for sure. When things don't go the right way, you call him and he knows what to say. And John, I mean, John is rock and roll, no? I mean, he's one of the best speakers I ever heard. He motivates me so much. So what can I tell you after all of this? Let me ask you something. I have a slide here. Let me see. I figured out that 99% of the people are not born rich. So let's say we have a few thousand people here. So if 99.9% of the people are not born rich or wealthy, I guess there must be at least one or two here in the room that were born rich. Could I see this person, please? Stand up. Oh, one is there. I know many people ask me, people think like, yeah, I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth. You say that in English too? You say that in German like that? You say that, yeah. But, it was actually not like this at all. I had a very rough beginning of my life. And the team here asked me to tell you a little bit that story so you know where I come from. And I was born in the Middle East. I was born in Tel Aviv. I have a Russian father and a Hungarian mother that actually couldn't speak together because my mother didn't speak Russian, my mother didn't speak Hungarian. So somehow they figured out a language to speak together. And they worked in the Hilton. They were actually both immigrants. And they worked in the Hilton Tel Aviv in '65. That was the early days of this hotel. And they have a, really tough time. My father was an electrician. My mother worked at the reception there. And they didn't know each other yet. So they came both to work for the Hilton and not knowing each other. And my mother is a beautiful lady. She has long blonde hair. Actually, I have my hair from her. No, I used to have blonde hair. My father is, not really the most handsome guy. But somehow he passed every day at his reception and made a nice face to her. She was 18 at the time, and he kind of convinced her. This is where I learned you don't really need to look good, you need to have a lot of charm. So I think he was drawing her a rose or something on a napkin, passed over. So from all these people that wanted to go out with my mother, my father got her. So then in the 60s, end of the 60s, my sister was born, and in the 70s, I was born. And one day we had a normal life. I think they earned a little bit of money, and we had an apartment. We were living in 2 rooms, actually me and my sister in one room, my parents in the other. And we were actually happy. It was everything fine. We were living not far from the beach, so it was a good life, let's say. Not we never had money at the end of the month, but it was good enough. But one day, my parents decided to move out of Israel and to move to Switzerland. Why? Because my mother had a mother there living in Basel, and she was sick. She had cancer, and my mother couldn't take it to be far away from her. So I don't know. I mean, at that time, today it's a little bit different. When you move with your kids, you kind of prepare them. You teach them maybe the language of the new country. You kind of, you tell them where we're going and why. At that time, it was different. My parents just told us, okay, next week we're moving away. Say goodbye to your friends. So this is how it happened. We moved to Switzerland. I didn't speak a word. I remember I arrived to Switzerland in February. It was gray. Actually, I've seen gray weather the first time in my life. It was snowing. I saw snow the first time in my life. I touched snow and realized it's really cold, and I hated it. But worst thing was that school just started. At that time, school started in April. So like 1 month after we arrived to Switzerland, I had to go to school. And I didn't really understand the language. Nobody taught me the language. And I was the only person that was not Swiss in the class. Can you imagine? They were all Swiss. I was the only not Swiss. They didn't even know how to deal with me. So the first day, the teacher called me up and said, Dan, could you please come to the front? I hardly understood what he meant, but he said, like, come, okay? So I came to the front, and he said, Dan, could you please write your name on the board? Could you please write your name on the board? And I didn't know how to write my name. So as you can imagine, kids are very mean. They're honest, but they're mean. So everyone, the entire class, they were sitting on the floor almost like you from here, and they were all laughing like crazy. And I was so embarrassed. I just looked who laughs the most. I went there and just hit him in the face. I was 9 years old. The class stopped to laugh immediately. Later I realized why. It was the son of the teacher. So that was Matthias. I hooked up on Facebook with him a few years ago. He still has his scarf here. No, joke aside. They kicked me out of the school. They thought I'm very aggressive. They didn't know why I'm aggressive. I couldn't talk, I couldn't explain myself, so I was at least one head taller than anybody else. So I just decided to have my feast speak for me. They kicked me out of 3 schools. Actually, until I was 17, I had a very rough life. I didn't understand the system, I didn't accept the system, I couldn't take any authority. You know, I was selling some bad stuff, I was in a boarding school, we had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, cold shower, like really crazy time. At the end, they also kicked me out of this boarding school. So I was there being 17, and I thought either I go this way or I go this way. Either I go to the side where, you know, I'm not going to finish school, I'm going to be a loser. I'm going to just try to somehow make it. My parents didn't speak with me for 2 years. So if I seen my father just pass by, he didn't even talk to me. I'm not, you know, you're not my son anymore, the entire story. Some of you know how it feels. One day, I woke up in the morning and I knew I need to change everything. You know, I'm not a very religious person, but you know, I believe in energies and you know, in a voice. And somebody spoke to me and said, listen, change your life. And I changed it. I went back to school. And I finished school. I went to uni. I started to study. But I knew that I will never be able to work for somebody, because I just had a problem to have a boss. I just didn't like when somebody tells me what to do. I cannot take it. Even today, I cannot take it. So I started my own business. I started to deliver pizzas, actually. I opened the first pizza delivery service in Switzerland when I was 18 and something. And I remember, I mean, starting a business is tough. We actually waited 3 weeks for our first order. So we were 3 people, we were 3 partners, one pizza guy, I'm on the phone, and the guy driving, and this little Fiat Pandas. And we're sitting there for 3 weeks waiting for the first order. And you can imagine when this phone rang, we all ran to this phone, and everybody tried to pick up this first order. We were so excited. So I was the strongest, so I took the phone, took the order, and unfortunately it was just 1 margarita. But okay, it's a good start, you know, like 14 Swiss francs, maybe 10 pounds, first order. So then we all wanted to make this pizza. But we had a pizzaiolo, so he said, look, I'm going to make this first pizza, okay? So we agreed to that, but then we said we all want to deliver this pizza, okay? So we all sat in this Fiat Panda. It's a very small car. And by the way, the pizzaiolo was an Indian guy. He was like 3 times my size. So we sat there, and we all went up to this woman. She was an older woman that ordered this margarita, and we were there like standing in front of the door. So she opened, she saw us 3, and she just closed the door again. We thought like it's not going to happen at first order, but then it happened, and this business became bigger, and we had 14 shops. We did a franchise out of that, and so on and so on. I actually sold the business about 10 years ago as the number 1 food delivery company in Switzerland. But I heard about Juice Plus. At that time, it was NSA, as Alex said, and I was actually excited when a friend asked me if I want to work there for 3 months. Because they had such a mess in the warehouse, and it was Basel, it was my place, and this friend was responsible to find somebody for the American company that just came over to Europe. And I said, okay, I'm going to help you for 3 months, because he promised the guys in Memphis that somebody will help, and then he called me up. So I went in there, and I wanted to leave after 3 months. My plan was to do 3 months and then take some pizza money and go to the States and do an MBA. This 3 months going to be 25 years now, so I kind of stuck to it. So I worked for Juice Plus. They wanted to keep me. I helped them to open some markets. So I helped them to open Italy and some in Spain and some other. I was living a year in Paris almost to help them to open the French market as an employee. But I never felt really good because actually my dream was not to be an employee, not to be in corporate. My dream was to be an entrepreneur because I couldn't take it to have a boss. I just couldn't take it. And I want to do my own thing and have my own vision. So the change came that the company changed from water filters to Juice Plus in 94, 95. And you know, many people that were with us at that time didn't like Juice Plus, didn't like the idea about Juice Plus. I think about it, it's 20 years ago. People said, what is this capsule? Is it astronaut food? And you know, who's going to speak about it? We were mainly men. So now you see 75% women. At that time, we were 80% men. And you know, another age group. So they said, like, I don't want to sell pills. I don't want, you know, what is wellness? What is prevention? Nobody understood that 20 years ago. So many left. Some stayed here. Some are even in the room here that didn't leave at that time. I saw for sure Birgit Plange, but also some UK people or Irish people at that time that came over. And it was a very, very tough time. And Jay Martin called me and said, Dan, you are one of our directors. We can actually not hold the company in Europe anymore. It's losing money, and it's almost like either we close Europe or some of the directors that are working in the countries will take over. And you can imagine how I felt. I felt like, wow, I could become an entrepreneur. I could be the master license holder of Juice Plus in Europe, or at least in some countries. And of course, I wanted to do it, but then Jay said, yeah, but then, you know, that's going to cost $1 million, the license. So from being high like that, not sleeping 3 days, I was down here and said, okay, Jay, I don't have $1 million. I cannot buy this license. It sounds great, but you know, I have a good life. You pay me a good salary, but I cannot afford it. So Jay said, don't worry, you can pay it over 7 years. I said, that's amazing. But Jay, I don't even have the first seventh. He said, okay, so pay me in a year the first seventh. I said, okay, let's do the deal. Let's do it. Let's do it. I went to the lawyers and realized that I need cash to run a business. And I need some cash to pay commission and stuff like that, logistic, and I didn't have it. They wanted me to have $350,000 to run the business. I didn't have it. So I went to my father. I didn't have a great relationship with him, but I went to him and said, he had a restaurant in Switzerland. He was running a restaurant. I went to him and I said, Gregory, you need to help me. I need $300,000. He said, for what? I said, look, there's this business, Juice Plus. I know they lost money the last years, but I have the opportunity. I could become, you know, the boss of this company and take it over, get the license, blah, blah, blah. He said, get out of here. I had to work on him for 2 months. I went every bloody day to his restaurant. I knew the menu back and forward. I said, please, please help me, help me. After 2 months, he said, okay, I help you. But I don't have the money. I said, okay, great. So how are you going to help me? He said, I know somebody that has the money, and he could give it to us so you can show it, and once you showed it, he was going to take it back. And I want 75% of your company for that. What do you think I said? Of course, I said yes. I said, let's do it. It's a deal. Let's do it. Okay? So we had this guy. He gave us 350,000. We showed it to Jay. By the way, don't tell him. He still doesn't know. And we got the deal. I signed it. My father became a 75% shareholder of the new Juice Plus company. And I run the business. And everything was fine. Until one day, I went to the office, and by getting in, the accountant, we had one accountant, he passed and went to the door. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm leaving. I said, why are you leaving? He said, this boat's going to sink. You guys are losing money. It's not going to happen. I'm leaving. And you know, when the accountant leaves, it's like, I mean, everybody can leave, but not the accountant. Something is wrong. That day, I had to go to Berlin to give an interview. We're talking about the year 97, okay, so like 20 years ago. I'm driving to Berlin from Basel, it's whatever, 5-6 hours drive. I go to this magazine, it was a network marketing magazine, and I'm giving this interview about nutrition, the next $1 billion or next $1 billion business. You can see me, you can find this magazine, I'm on the cover, I look like shit. Because the bank is calling me while I give this interview, and is telling me that I own them 1 million Swiss francs, which is like $1 million, and they're not going to pay the commission to any distributor. So think about me. 97, I'm 26. I took a company license, like you guys, just a little bit bigger. I paid money for it. I had my parents in there, in the business. This company paid 25 years before me, before I even joined, every month at the right time the commission, and I'm the one to change it. I'm the one not to pay commission to all these hundreds of people, thousands of people that stayed with me because they believed that I'm going to turn this company around after we had this water filters Juice Plus change. I remember I stood up from this interview and I drove home to Basel. I don't remember this drive. I think it took me 1 hour. I went to my parents' apartment. They sat there. They knew it already that I'm coming. I called them, and I said to them, guys, I have the picture now. We own the bank's 2.7 million Swiss francs, dollars, and if we don't pay, they're going to close the company. My father looked at me and said, you know what? You destroyed our life. I said, what do you mean? He said, we will never, ever be able, ever, to pay your debt back. And you dragged me into this company. We need 20, 30, 50 years, our kids gonna work for your debts. We will never be able to pay it back. They're gonna come, they're gonna pick up our TV, our sofas. They were not so fancy. And the future, we're gonna work to pay back your debts because we had personal security in there. I remember I stood up. It was 10:30 in the night. I went to the office. I went to our office in Basel, our old office, the first one we had. And I sat in my chair. I stood up. It was around 11 in the night. And I looked down the windows. And I thought like, okay, what's happening if I jump now? And I tell you guys, the only reason why I didn't jump is because second floor was not sure I'm gonna die. I still believe today that if this office would have been in the fourth, why are you laughing so much? I still believe that if this office would have been in the fourth floor, I wouldn't be here. Somebody else would be here, but I wouldn't be here. But this was my state of mind, and I'm such a positive guy. I mean, you don't get me down, ever. At that time, it was over. I knew I screwed my family, they're gonna work for me, we lost Juice Plus, and so on and so on. But at the time I made a decision not to jump, I also made a decision to fight for it until I die. So I went out the next days, and I went to the banks, and I went to the VAT offices, and we were a little bit lucky because the office downstairs was burning, so we got some insurance money. And no, I didn't burn down. And somehow we survived. Somehow we survived. What then happened was one of the most successful business story of Swiss history, certainly in our industry. Our group that was broke at that time made $1.4 billion in sales with Juice Plus the years to follow. There were a few groups, and our groups was 6 times bigger than the second group that was selling in other markets. We turned everything around. My family lives today in houses on the lake, and they believe it was always a good decision. Our business. But it taught me a lot, guys, you know. It taught me I know how it smells when you are at the end. I know how dirt smells. I know how shit smells. I know how some of us feel sometimes. I didn't come from a, elite university and don't feel life. I know exactly where some of you come from, how some of you feel. And that made me, and I'm very happy about it, made me a guy that is very close to people. This is why, and I didn't know she was going to tell it, this is why I'm interested in what's happening at 1 o'clock in the morning when she has pain, because I'm one of you. And I think this is what this company also needs. We need people that are very close to the distributor. We say almost on the same height, on the eyes height. Do you have a word like that? On the eyes height, yeah? Level? Eyes level, same level, thanks. It's good I brought you with me. So, most people are not born wealthy. But if you look at my story, you can turn it around if you want. You just need a good vehicle for that. I show you some other guys that did it. I mean, you might know them or not. I mean, here a guy, he was selling ties in a shop. And then he opened Ralph Lauren. Is it Ralph Lauren on the screen? Yeah, very good. I mean, everyone has something for Ralph Lauren, even if it's just an underwear. Or here, maybe you know him. I mean, who has a Ray-Ban glasses? I mean, I have like 2. This guy was an orphan. And now he has Ray-Ban. Or here, Pinot. I mean, who knows Gucci? Who knows Gucci? Please. I mean, he was teased, he was mobbed at school. They laughed about him because he was so poor. Then he went out and said, not with me, I'm going to change it. And today is one of the richest guys in Europe, if not the richest. He has Gucci, Stella, McCartney, all these brands. Or here, Larry Ellison, you have him? This guy is a dropout too. And now he has Oracle, one of the biggest companies in the world. You don't need to be born rich or wealthy or with anything to turn your world around. And there are many proofs around you that are standing for that. So I looked at the company Juice Plus, and I wanted to compare it with something big, something that we all know. Not the product that I'm really using, but something that we can compare to. And I want to take the biggest beverage company in the world. Now, is it good product? I don't know. It has a lot of sugar, etc. But who cares? It's a good comparison. So I looked at the Juice Plus history and at the Coca-Cola history, and Coca-Cola sold 25 bottles in the first year. And now they sell 1.8 billion bottles a day. That's huge, no? Who had a Coca-Cola today? I mean, they must sell it somewhere. They started with 25 bottles. I want to compare to Juice Plus. So, look at Juice Plus. 1,200 bottles the first year. The first full year of Juice Plus. Today, we do 15,000 products a day. You should be proud about that, guys. Look at that. From 91 to 15, we did 10 billion. It took us 25 years to write 10 billion in sale. If you look now, Between 2016 and between 2000 and 2027, we budgeted the same 10 million in half of the time. And if you look at our growth rate, it's going to happen again. We're going to do the 10 million in again half of the time in 6 years between 28 and 33. Guys, we are not building this company for us or for you. We are building this company for next generation. This is how we think. When we make decisions, we think about your kids already and their kids. We are not here to get rich in the first place in our lifetime. We are here for the legacy, for the future, for the next generations. And it looks good there. My time is up, so I'm going to go fast now. But this is just the beginning. And I'm totally convinced about the reason why, because we are one of the most innovative companies in this industry. We capture social media so much better than anybody else in our industry. They all look at us right now and they say, what is Juice Plus doing with their success? Why are they growing 33% over last year? How is it possible that Europe, after 25 years with this industry, can triple volumes in a few years? Because we are doing it different than others. And here it is. We can communicate faster. I would say 10 times faster than before. I mean, many of you don't know, but in the past, we used to drive to people, and we had to talk to them 7 times until they bought Juice Plus. That was our statistic. So you need to talk to somebody 7 times until he buys Juice Plus. Now, so first time you met him, maybe it was at work, you said, hey, you know, I have something for you. Second time you met him again and said, I'm taking good nutrition. Third time you met him, maybe you had to pay lunch. Fourth time you had to convince his wife. Fifth time you had to send him some doctor's video. Sixth time, seventh time, he said yes, maybe. He said yes. Today, it's still 7 times, but it happens within a day. It happens within an hour or a few minutes. Because through social media, he has so much access to you and to your life, to your friends, to videos, to credibility. This thing happened at least 10 times faster. I mean, talk to some people that are 25 years with us. They were driving 100,000 kilometers per year or 80,000 miles per year to do the same business like you guys do today. How fortunate are we? I tell you one thing. If in 100 years, people will look back to our company, some distributor like you, in rooms like this, they will understand what happened right now. They will understand that that was a moment that made history for the company. And you know, a company in a lifetime of 100, 200 years has maybe 3, 4 times where you see if that wouldn't have happened, the company wouldn't be here. And by the way, every big company in the world, Hilton, Marriott, McDonald's, whatever you want, they were all once very much down or even almost bankruptcy. And they all made one thing at one time that changed the world, and we are in this time. So how fortunate are you to be in this time? It's a little bit luck too. I would buy every share of this company if I could, every share, every percentage. Now, you cannot buy shares, it's not a public company, but your time is the share. Your investment with time, how many people you talk to, how hard you work, because you are the partner of this company. We share 50% of our income with you. You are our partners. That's the time. Don't regret it one day when you look back. One guy sold 9% of his Apple shares in the 80s for $700. And I'm sure he went home to his wife and said, hey, he just wanted to pay $600, I sold it for $700. I'm a hero. His shares today are worth $56 billion. He sold it at the wrong time. You need to invest your time at the right time. And you know, there is a story about this guy that is drawing. He's in the ocean. He's dying. He cannot swim. The water is up here. and he's calling God. He's saying, please rescue me, I cannot swim. He's praying, he's looking up. You know, there's, by the way, a boat coming by, a fisher, and says, hey, you know, you're dying, should I help? He said, no, no, no. I ask God to help me. I'm struggling. I ask God to help me, he will help me. You know, 5-10 minutes later, he's still about to drown, to die. A mermaid comes by. Do you need help? He says, no, 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 I don't need help. I ask God to help me. Eventually, this guy died. He drowned. And he comes up and he says, I was always a good guy. I was always a good human. And when I prayed to you, when I needed you, you didn't help me. So God said, what about the boat that I sent you? What about the mermaid? Guys, when it's happening, when you hear the sign, you need to do it. Don't wait for another sign. When a voice is telling you it's time, go for it. Let's change this world, okay? Thank you.